All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He's Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and also the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan. Steve, the Celtic Chalk Talk pod will drop new episodes every Monday, and this is the Shotclock pod, the best 24 minutes of random NBA thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after week 5 of the 2025-26 NBA season, which is the time of the season when teams start to show who they are. So I think this is always interesting. I know Phil Jackson used to say, when he coached the Lakers, people would ask him, what do you make of your team so far early in the season? He said, give me till Thanksgiving. Give me till Thanksgiving. That was his line of demarcation. So I think now we get a feel for who teams are. So it's an interesting time of year. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. I'm starting the clock now. And I love that we're starting with the Detroit Pistons, right? Because we just said this is the time of year when teams show you who they are. And my goodness, the Pistons are good, right? Now, you didn't think that the Pistons would make another jump. They made a big jump last season. You didn't think they could do it again because they lacked a second scorer next to Kate Cunningham, but someone has emerged in that role. Who?
Jalen Doering. He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to be a restricted free agent. He's averaging over 20 points a game, which is right away, that's your second scorer. And he's rebounding real well, over 11 rebounds a game. And the other thing he's provided for them, first of all, the Pistons play an old school style of basketball. They're physical. They pound you. They commit a lot of fouls. It's the way it is. And they make you reluctant to go at it. And then that's how they wear you down and beat you. But Jalen Doering, one of the great things he's got is as a rim protector, and that's important. Now, and just to make some comparisons, last year teams shot 62% at the rim against Detroit. This year it's down 10%, down to 52. So Duren is not only scoring, rebounding, but he's also making it more difficult to get easy shots. One of the things I used to always tell when I coached my team was the team that takes, if you combine all the footage of all the shots taken in a game, the team that takes less footage wins, meaning team closer to the basket, shooting the ball closer to the basket will win. Gotcha. And when you get a guy like Duren taking that away, now you need a hot night to beat them. And that's a big thing. And the other piece, too, with the Pistons, beside that, Kate Cunningham he'll be in the top 5 of the MVP if he continues along this line. And he's great. So that's the other part. The two of them can play well. And the other thing is the Pistons are just so darn physical. They pound you and they make you earn everything you're getting against them. And I would think a lot of players get reluctant to keep getting pounded. So they don't continue to do the things they do, meaning looking for easy shots. That's part of how you win a game.
It's so interesting to me, right, that the Pistons, when I think of the Pistons, I think of the bad boy era, right? Really good basketball team, really physical, a team that was a team in every sense of the word. This team, this is the bad boys too, isn't it? Because they still play that kind of physical game. They're a really good team. Is that fair?
I think, you're onto something, because I think what makes the Pistons so lovable by the fans in Detroit, they are just like Detroit, blue collar and tough. And that fits perfectly with that. And naturally, they get their fans get into it because of it. So, they're a very physical, tough team to play. And now with a second scorer, makes it a lot better.
Outstanding. Good to see. Let's see if things continue to trend upward in Detroit. Let's talk about a team, unfortunately, it's trending downward, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans. They're floundering on the court, last in the Western Conference as we take the show, and shuffling things around in the front office. So I got to ask you, is this season salvageable for New Orleans, or is this just a lost cause?
I think the whole situation's a lost cause, but a couple things about New Orleans. First of all, if you've ever been to the Smoothie King Center, it's right next to the Superdome. It's not a great arena. Probably one of the worst in the NBA. The owner of the team, Gail Benson, she also owns the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans is a football town or city, but so you have that, and there's not a great deal of interest in the Pelicans. If you go around the league and buy tickets in different places, see different cities, which I have tried to do, Pelican tickets are generally the cheapest. They're not very good, but also there's not a great fan base. If you watch a game, you don't see a lot of people at the game. So the franchise is not good. They have to at some point. I know the NBA talks about expansion, but even think about it. I don't think Benson will. Her husband he died. He was the owner of both, and she's a New Orleans woman. But you got to think about New Orleans. Vegas is a nice place to put a franchise. But or Seattle, having said that, they're in New Orleans. They're the poor stepbrother of the Saints. Now she went out and hired Joe Dumars. Joe Dumars, if you don't know, was Detroit Pistons GM when they won a title in 2006, I believe. So he's got a pedigree, and he's been working in the NBA offices for the last couple of years. He's like the administrator of the defense, meaning punishments, which his job was in the NBA offices. She hired him, not a bad hire. Here's what's ironic. He hires as his general manager, Troy Weaver. Now, for those who don't know, Troy Weaver was in Detroit. He was the person that was part of the 20-something game losing streak. Troy Weaver's record was abominable as the GM or the president of the Detroit Pistons. The word is in the NBA, first of all, Dumars came in and said he wanted a tough physical team. So I guess like the Pistons.
Right.
First thing they do is get Jordan Poole from New Orleans. Now, Jordan Poole can shoot and he can score, but he's not tough and physical. So that tells you right away, is he running it or is Troy Weaver running it? And the word is in the NBA that Troy Weaver is doing more of the work, which is really interesting. The other thing that's really, and maybe this will be the telltale thing, they fired Willie Green as the coach. Kevin Ollie, who was the University of Connecticut coach, he was the interim at the Nets, and he played for Connecticut way back. I think he won a championship for the university. But Kevin Ollie is Troy Weaver's pick to become the new coach. If he does, it tells you that Dumars is like more or less just letting Weaver run the show. And I don't know if that's a great idea because of, with his track record.
Yeah, very difficult situation. We've talked before on the show how difficult the job of a GM is. I think the only thing you could say for Weaver is, he took the hint, but now look where his teams are. So maybe there's some method to the madness, but we have to just wait and see. So staying down at the lower teams, we go from the 4-win Pelicans, to the 2-win Pelicans to the 4-win Charlotte Hornets. Let's talk a little bit about their best player, at least the guy who's been the best player, certainly the face of that franchise, and that's LaMelo Ball. What are the percentage chances that LaMelo Ball ends this season in Charlotte?
Before we start, what's your impression of him as a basketball player?
What a good question, right? He's an LA guy, Chino Hills. So I've been hearing about him for a very long time. Always thought, we've not seen a player like Magic Johnson, and I'm not creating that link, believe me. But we haven't seen a player like Magic Johnson since Magic Johnson. But anytime you see a big guard with handle and that kind of core vision, you can't help but think, right? Is this guy cut in that mold? And there was some hope that he would be. And flashes of it. He's got great core vision. He's shooting threes really well at the start. But now Magic came into a tough situation with a bunch of veterans and stood up amongst them. LaMelo had an opportunity to be the veteran and is shrinking in that responsibility, or so it seems. So I like him as a basketball player. I just don't think he's not displaying the leadership skills that you would want from somebody who's going to be the leader of your team. I think he's really good, though. I just think, and we've talked about this before, you got to put the right player, the right team in the right situation. And right now, it looks like Charlotte might not be the right team situation for him. That's what I think.
Who was LaMelo's AAU coach?
Oh, I have no idea. Tell me.
I believe his dad.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
What do you think that would say to you? The father's coaching the son.
I love coaching my kids coming out. They were LaMelo Ball, though.
What would it say to you, though? The father coaching the kid who's very good, very talented. Do you think he'd teach him the game or teach him how to take care of himself?
No, I got you. Yeah, probably more the latter than the former.
If you watch LaMelo Ball, there's times where you sit there and say, this guy's great. And then there's other times when he decides to throw a 30-footer up with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. You sit there and say, this guy's got to be sitting. And then when you watch him defend in any kind of screen and roll or anything like that, his man goes to the basket. He'll just stop at the foul line and not defend it. His game, to me, I could be wrong, but I don't think he's a winner. And I think that's the biggest thing in this. Do I think he'll get traded? I think it's a 50-50, but I think that Apple and some of the other players that are coming along, Miller just came back yesterday and had a good game. They might think about trying to get him out and see what they can get. If they get a couple first rounds, I wouldn't give up a lot. But if they get a couple first rounds and a player, you know what? It gets interesting. But the other interesting piece to this is there's 3 point guards that have been talked about could be traded. They're all talented, but I don't know. Mentally, I don't know where they are. And meaning John Morant, Trae Young. And so that gets interesting, and it's got to decrease his market value because you got 3 of them out there. Who's going to give up a lot when maybe you can get the other one? So there's a lot of interesting situation. It's an interesting situation for Charlotte. But again, it's not the concept of basketball that I think wins that off. Yeah. And that would be the best way to put it.
And we're seeing that in Charlotte. They're not winning, and he's been the face of that franchise for a while. So, yeah, lack of leadership and immaturity. But somebody will take a chance on him, as well as the other names that you mentioned. We do not here at the Peach Basket and on this particular Shot Clock pod talk a lot about betting. But you had an interesting betting tip based on a recent evaluation so far in the season. What can you share?
First of all, it's really interesting. If you follow the NBA, you realize that teams in the East will go west, usually twice a year. There's 8 teams that are far west. I'm not going to name them because I probably couldn't. I'd probably forget them. But there's 8 teams that are out west. So generally, an Eastern team will go out and play 4 games and 4 games, then make 2 trips. 4 and 4, generally, not always, but generally. Now, the East is a lot different. So the Western teams might come east and go 6 or 7 games, or they might divide it up to 2, 3 trips because it's 15 teams. Milwaukee, teams like that are further Midwest wouldn't be as bad. But when they come east, sometimes it's a longer trip. Now, the Clippers went on a long trip into the East. And so did Golden State. Clippers are just finishing one, but Golden State did. Now, they did play well against San Antonio, sweeping them in San Antonio. But they were, I believe, 3-3 going into Game 7 against the Heat the other night. There's a little thing that people talk about. Anytime a team who's on a long road trip is on the last game of the trip, generally they let the rope go. And the betting line was 10.5 on this game. Now, not only did Golden State not cover the spread, but they sat out their 3 best players. If you follow the rule there, it gets very interesting. Now, one thing I'll say, today the Clippers are finishing, I believe, their road trip. And the interesting piece is that yesterday they won against Charlotte, and I think they've only won 1 or 2 games on this road trip. But what the interesting piece is, Kawhi Leonard's going to play today, which makes it interesting about if they cover. I didn't even look and see if there's a point spread, but it's a long road trip last game. And by the way, there's one other thing too. Statistics say, and Golden State bore this out, statistics say the first game back at home after the long road trip, teams struggle. The the Warriors last night, I believe, lost to Portland, and that was their first game back. So it's really, and I don't think they covered because I would think they'd be favored against Portland. But the point being, there's little rules within the betting world. Now, nothing's 100%. That's one of the things a lot of gamblers will utilize.
Interesting. All right. And again, I really am not a gambler, but I think I'm reading this correct. The odds right now for the Clippers at the Cavaliers, the 5-11 Clippers at the 11-6 Cavaliers. The Cavaliers rather 8.5 is the spread that they are favored.
See what happens. But what's interesting is Kawhi's playing. Probably does. That kind of throws everything out the window.
Yeah. Which again is par for the course for Kawhi, but desperately needed for the Clippers. Let's stay in the West. Talk about the Nuggets a little bit.
As we used to say about players like Kawhi, he's using all his vacation days. So he's sitting a lot.
Indeed. Indeed. It's wearing thin for the Clippers personally, but not a conversation we can dive into today, but maybe another time. But let's stay in the West. Let's talk about the Nuggets. They added depth and it's paying dividends, man. The Denver Nuggets look like probably the only team in the West that can challenge the Thunder. What's changed in Denver?
First of all, don't sell Houston short, but they need a shooter. What they did this year, they don't like to go into the second apron or any of that, but what they did this year was they went out and brought in Bruce Brown, who was part of the championship team and a pretty good player. They also brought Tim Hardaway, who can shoot and can open up a game for everybody because he can hit the three and it gives driving lanes and everything else for other teams. And they also brought in, and this was the key, Jonas Valanciunas. Now, Valanciunas doesn't play a lot. He's playing about almost 12 minutes a game. That means Jokic is playing 36 minutes or a little give or take. But the thing it does, for years when Jokic went out of a game, Denver just got outplayed. Valanciunas gives them a fighting chance when he's on the court. And it's very interesting. In that time he's been playing, he's averaging 8.5 points a game. So he's giving them something, and also 4.6 rebounds. So he's giving them a lot. And by doing that, it allows Jokic not to have to play as much. And it's just a common sense thing. I believe Valanciunas is making $10 million, but it's well worth it for the Clippers. And by the way, one of the things that opened up the ability to get these three guys I just mentioned was the trade of Michael Porter to the Nets, because they got Cam Johnson back. The Nets were able to swallow a lot of the salary. Well, it didn't have to be even salary in the deal. And the money they got in the difference between Porter and Johnson enabled them to go out and build a bench.
Yeah, I'm looking at Valanciunas' numbers. We can't dive too deep into this, but yeah, 8.5 over 12 minutes. If you play 30 minutes, you could do the math there. That is incredible output from your backup center and something that's been missing in Denver. But yeah, we're up against the clock. I'd love to talk a little bit more about that because that's pretty fascinating. But Miami is also an interesting team. This is a team who started the season without last season's top scorer, and yet they're playing really good basketball. What's the secret to Miami's hot start?
First of all, Tyler Hero should be due back any day, and it's going to be interesting to see his effect on the team, good or bad.
Right.
But they got Norman Powell from the Clippers, and one thing Norman Powell can do is score. He's averaging 24.6. So he makes up for Hero being out, and he gives him points. But what's really interesting, and I know I was wrong with Detroit, but I'll take some credit on this one. Khalil Ware is playing real well. He can shoot a three, believe it or not, but what the big things here is he's playing about a little over 24 minutes, but he's getting over 10 rebounds a night. He's only going to get better. He's going to become a real good player, and it allows Adebayo to become a 4, which is probably where he belongs, because they had him at 6'8", 6'9", battling people that were much bigger. So it might make it better for him, and although Adebayo can defend against anybody. But the other interesting thing I found when I was looking at it was Jaquez, or Yaquez, whatever his name, whatever you want to say, Jaime Jaquez or whatever. He's averaging, and last year people thought, well, this guy ain't going to pan out. He didn't play well last year. he's averaging over 16 a game. And that's not bad. But here's the other part. Over 5 assists and over 6 rebounds. So he's giving them way more off the bench. So the Heat are getting play from him and Ware, 2 people they weren't getting play from last year, plus Norman Powell. And that's a name. Oh, and I didn't write about him, but the guy that is Marcus Smart Jr., Davion Mitchell,
Okay.
is giving them valuable defense and as a point guard. So these people that they've brought in have really helped the Heat. Now, how good are the Heat? I look at them as a 5 or 6 seed. However, I don't think anybody really would want to play them. And if Hero comes back and really can fit a role, look out. They're really difficult to play. Again, if you have 3 guys that ball in the hole, you're legit. And the key is how can they play together? And if that works out, I mean, nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw any of that coming with the Heat.
There's just something about good coaching and good foundations. It's like you've gotten certain franchises. I'm thinking San Antonio, I'm thinking Miami. They tend to bounce back quicker than teams that don't have that. And as a J that sounds like an H guy, my name is Jose. I will say it's Jaime Jaquez, 2 H's, boom. And he's gotten, he had a rough second season to your point, but yeah, he is rebounding in the third. Jaime Jaquez. It's an H.
So,
all right, let's finish with Tyrese Maxey, a name that has no silent H. He's off to a hot start in Philly. Is this who he is, or is this just a hot start for Tyrese?
I think it's who he is.
Wow. Nice.
33 points a game, 7.9 assists per game, meaning he's accounting for almost 50 points a game. Think about that.
That's incredible. That's wild, right?
Almost for what your team would score. Maxey was always good, always overshadowed by the big guy Embiid. Now it's his team, and they do him and Paul George, Embiid and George. People would think they should, because they're making all the money, should be these. No. Well, for them, when they do play, is to become secondary players. And beware, VJ Edgecombe will become a real stud too. So, and McLean is coming back, who's a nice player, a kid from Duke. So they've got some
rookie season. Yep.
They've got some depth. They've got some talent there with these people. They also have a young man by the name, I believe it's Dominic Barlow, who's a nice role player. He's from the hometown where my wife is from, in Jersey.
Cool.
But yeah, and he went to that high school, but Dubon, New Jersey. But he's not a bad role. So they're starting to fill in and find bodies and players that can help them. Now, going back to Maxey, if he's not all NBA, I don't know who is. He's made that team respectable. I don't think it's going to last over a whole season because I don't know if there's enough, unless Embiid makes a miraculous recovery or something, or Paul George finds the fountain of youth. I don't know if there's enough there to win. They've been winning a lot of close games. Generally, that evens off over the course of a year. But he can play. Perfect.
Undeniably, the absolute best that we have ever done came in just under the shot clock. That was bad. I'm not even. We cannot elaborate. It does not get any better than that. It took over 100 shows for us to do this. I am so pumped. That was absolutely incredible. So yeah, let's go. We got to button this one up. That was absolutely perfect. That is it. Our time is up. You heard the buzzer. Steve got the shot off at 0-0, and it was a swish. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We'll link it wherever you're watching or listening to the show to get more NBA Random Thoughts. And of course, please subscribe, follow, comment. Everything that you do means the world to us, and we're grateful for all of it. Join us next week for more NBA Random Thoughts as we recap week number 6 in the 2025-26 NBA season. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Steve.
Yes.